Ever feel like you're stuck hearing the same story just with different faces? Like the news is playing a broken record.
Hmm.
That's kind of what we're diving into today.
Okay.
How media constructs our understanding of the world,
Right.
often without us even realizing it.
Yes.
And we're going deep on the concept of ideology.
Okay.
And don't worry, we're not cracking open a textbook.
Yeah.
Think of it as uncovering the secret language of media.
Right.
So our guide today is a paper by Stuart Hall.
Mm.
It's called The Rediscovery of Ideology, A Return of the Repressed in Media Studies.
Okay.
And he argues that questioning the dominant narratives presented by the media is crucial.
Yeah.
And he takes us back to the mid-20th century to show us why.
Okay.
So back then, the prevailing view in media studies was all about pluralism. And this was the idea that societies are essentially fair.
Okay.
Power is distributed among different groups, everyone gets a voice,
Right.
and by and large, things generally work out for the best.
Yeah, so like the world is a giant town hall meeting, and everyone gets their say.
Exactly.
And this approach really emphasized the effects of media,
Okay.
like how a catchy ad might make you buy a specific brand of soda.
Right.
It's all about how media directly changes individual behavior.
Right. Those sneaky advertisers. But what's wrong with that approach?
Well,
It sounds pretty upbeat, doesn't it?
sure, on the surface.
Yeah.
But this pluralist view, while seemingly optimistic,
Yeah.
kind of skimmed over the deeper power dynamics at play.
Okay.
So before, everyone was so focused on how media directly affects individual behavior, there was a lot of anxiety about the rise of mass society
Okay.
and how media could be used to manipulate the masses.
Which is kind of ironic because now we worry about things like social media being echo chambers, right?
Exactly.
It's like we've come full circle.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The concerns are similar, but the context has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
What Hall argues is that by focusing solely on how media changes what brand of soda we buy,
Yeah.
we miss how it subtly reinforces broader societal norms and power structures,
Okay.
often without us even realizing it.
It's like we're so busy looking at the trees, we miss the entire forest.
Exactly. It is not just about you choosing one brand over another because of an ad.
Right.
It's about the deeper messages embedded in everything we consume.
Okay.
We're talking about how media shapes our understanding of what's normal, what's acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
what's even possible.
Yeah.
And that has real-world consequences for how our societies function.
So it's about the water we swim in rather than just the occasional wave that knocks us over.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
We accept the media's version of reality as just the way things are,
Right.
without questioning where those ideas come from, whose interests they serve,
Mm-hmm.
and how they might limit our understanding of the world and ourselves.
So then how can we challenge these messages if we're not even aware of them?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. It all starts with understanding that reality itself isn't this objective thing.
Okay.
It's all about how things are defined or framed for us.
Okay.
Think about how sociologists used to study groups they called deviant.
Right.
And what they found was that these groups weren't inherently different,
Okay.
just defined as such by those in power.
It's like how our views on certain things, say alcohol versus cannabis, have totally changed over time.
Right.
What was once seen as like totally taboo is now mainstream.
Exactly.
It shows how deviance is often a matter of social construction.
Exactly. And media plays a huge role in shaping those definitions.
Okay.
See, media doesn't simply reflect reality.
Mm-hmm.
It actively creates meaning.
Okay.
It's constantly signifying, that's what Hall calls it,
Okay.
through language, framing,
Right.
and even what it chooses to present or not present to us.
So it's not just about what they show us, it's also what they leave out.
Precisely.
Wow.
And this signifying practice often favors those already in power,
Okay.
even when media tries to appear neutral.
Right.
For example, think about how industrial disputes are often portrayed in the news.
Oh, you mean how it's always about the negative impact on the economy and rarely about the worker's perspective?
You got it.
Yeah.
It's a subtle way of reinforcing the status quo.
Right.
And that's where things get really sneaky.
Yeah.
Because we're not just talking about biased reporting.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the very language used to describe these events.
Okay.
And this is where the work of Roland Barthes comes in.
Okay.
He was fascinated by how seemingly simple things,
Yeah.
like an image or a product,
Right.
could reinforce dominant values.
Okay.
He called this the power of myth.
So like a billboard for a luxury car
Yeah.
isn't just selling a car.
Right.
It's selling a whole lifestyle, aspirations, a
Exactly.
way of seeing yourself in the world.
Exactly. And this extends to how we understand even objective news reports.
Okay.
They rely on unspoken assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
framing, to
Yeah.
make sense of the world.
Yeah.
These hidden biases can be incredibly powerful in shaping public opinion.
Right.
Um, Let me give you another example.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis?
Oh, yeah. It's about how language can actually shape the way we see the world, right?
Right.
Like some cultures have way more words for snow than we do in English.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that different cultures
Yeah.
understand and classify the world differently.
Okay.
And this is reflected in their languages.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
If you grow up with a language that has a dozen different words for snow,
Yeah.
your understanding of winter, weather,
Mm-hmm.
even the natural world is going to be very different from someone who only has one or two words for it.
Wow. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
So the language we use isn't just a neutral tool for describing reality.
right.
It's actually shaping how we perceive it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this takes us back to Barthes' idea of myth.
Okay.
Even seemingly neutral language can carry hidden ideological baggage.
Right.
It's about recognizing that the way we talk about things matters.
Yeah.
It shapes how we understand not just individual issues,
Mm-hmm.
but the entire world around us.
So are you saying that every word, every phrase is potentially loaded with all this hidden meaning?
Yeah.
That sounds exhausting.
It might sound daunting,
Yeah.
but it's also empowering.
Oh, okay.
Once you start to see it,
Yeah.
you can't unsee it.
Right.
And that awareness is the first step to becoming a more critical consumer of media.
Okay.
It's about asking ourselves, who benefits from this particular way of framing the issue?
Hmm.
What's being left out of the story?
Right.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
how might my own worldview be shaped by the language and images I'm consuming?
It's like I've been wearing like color-tinted glasses my whole life, and finally I took them off, and now things look different.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And once you start to see those hidden biases, you can't unsee them.
Mm.
But here's the good news.
Okay.
If meaning is constructed, it can also be challenged.
Okay.
Language is a site of struggle.
Okay.
Different groups can contest these dominant narratives.
So it's not a lost cause. There's hope. Do you have any examples of how that's worked?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Take, for example, the word black. It has a long and painful history of being used as a derogatory term.
Right.
But the Black Power movement reclaimed it.
Yeah.
They turned it into a positive affirmation of Black identity and pride.
Right. What was once a tool of oppression became a source of empowerment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a powerful example of how language can be used for social change.
Yeah.
It shows how these dominant narratives, these myths we've been talking about, aren't set in stone.
Right.
We can challenge them,
Well,
we
yeah.
can reshape them,
Okay.
and in doing so, reshape our understanding of the world.
That's incredibly inspiring, but it also feels kind of daunting. Like, how can I, as one person, make a difference against all these like powerful media narratives?
It starts with awareness.
Okay.
The very fact that we're having this conversation, that you're asking these questions, means you're already on the right track. The next step is to be more critical of the media you consume.
Right?
Don't just passively absorb whatever's thrown at you.
All right.
Ask yourself, who benefits from this particular way of framing the issue?
Okay.
What voices are being amplified and what voices are being silenced?
So, like, don't just get your news from one source. Read different perspectives, even if they make me uncomfortable.
Exactly. Look for alternative media sources. Seek out diverse voices and perspectives.
Okay.
Don't let yourself get trapped in an echo chamber.
Right.
And remember, media literacy is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice.
Yeah. It's like building those critical thinking muscles.
Exactly.
The more you use them, the stronger they get.
The more you question, the more you analyze, the more you seek out different viewpoints, the more equipped you'll be to navigate this complex media landscape.
It's about like taking back control of our own narratives.
Precisely. And remember, it's not about having all the answers.
Okay.
It's about being comfortable with the unknown, with embracing complexity, and being open to changing your mind.
So deep divers. Next time you're scrolling through the news, watching TV, or even just having a conversation, remember what we talked about today. That seemingly simple question, whose interests are being served by this particular way of framing the issue can be incredibly powerful.
It can be.
It can help us break free from those echo chambers, those pre-packaged narratives.
Yes.
And start to see the world with fresh eyes.
Absolutely. And reclaim our own power as critical thinkers
Yeah.
and engaged citizens.
And who knows, maybe even change the world one conversation at a time.
That's it.
Until next time, deep divers keep questioning.